Hello everybody, welcome back to the Lake Effect Gardener. So it is a really blistering hot day today, and to tell you the honest truth, I haven't really been doing a lot in the garden because it has been that hot. It's been about 90 degrees, give or take a few degrees, and I'm saying that because it's actually been warmer than that, and that's 30 degrees Celsius for all my UK viewers. Right now the heat index is saying that it's 95, so needless to say, I'm sitting in the shade on my patio just to get away from some of this heat. But anyways, so yeah, I haven't really been getting a lot of stuff done in the garden. It's just every time I try to, I just end up becoming completely drenched in sweat. So I thought for a little change that I would make a video for you guys as kind of a retrospective. Like what came before the YouTube channel started? Where did my garden start from? So I've compiled a bunch of pictures and from over the years, and I'm going to kind of give you an overview. It's not going to be a terribly long video, but you guys will kind of see how, you know, something like this did not happen overnight. It was something that took a long time and a lot of planning and a lot of construction and a lot of deconstruction and kind of, you know, feeling it out. Let's just say that it happened pretty organically. So that's what we're going to be doing. So I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying nice and cool. And I really hope that you enjoy this video. So here you see my backyard when I first moved in. Lots of trees, it was very muddy, and I knew I wanted to make a change slowly but surely. So the first thing I started out with was a very small raised bed up against the garage. And this one just had maybe like a tomato, a couple of herbs, you know, nothing too substantial. It was just enough for me at that point because I had so much work to do inside of the house to get it, you know, where I wanted to actually be livable. So after that, after the house was complete, I started removing the very well-rotted, as you can see, workshop in the back of the garage. So I took it down all by myself, and it was not as easy as it looked. It didn't just quite fall apart like I thought it would with all the rot that was in it. But I slowly took it down, bit by bit. The mess was just amazing to me. I could not believe how much mess it actually created. The roof had so many layers of tar paper on it that it would not come down in pieces. It literally had to come. I was jumping on top of it. So that's what I was left with. So I left the little shed extension on there, which also had to be taken down. But I was so over it that I was just like, this is good enough. And there I expended my beds. And I didn't go crazy. I added a bigger bed and then a couple of growing trellises because I knew I wanted to grow upwards. And here's a different angle of it. And for the time being, the back of the garage was kind of like a little porch, but that again was rotting, so I knew that had to come down soon. Here's a different angle. I have to say, the soil that was underneath the workshop was gorgeous, so I knew this was going to be a really great place to grow. And the amount of sun that came back through that area was, you know, really, really good. I knew this was going to be the really, really perfect place to put my garden. Well, one of my trees decided that it was going to uproot itself during a storm and destroyed one of my beds. That only gave me the excuse to expand my garden. You know, when you're given lemons, you got to make lemonade. So the border along the garage is starting to get a little bit bigger, and I expanded it out the back, and I made smaller raised beds. There's about 11 of them there. And I was going for like the Williamsburg colonial kitchen garden look, so everything was very neat and lots of smaller beds, lots of small paths, which I thought worked well for the time being. It wasn't a very big garden to begin with, so I thought, you know, I'm just going to keep it on a smaller scale, and I was just growing a variety of different things. And as you can see in the forefront there, I used to have a strawberry bed, but I never got any strawberries out of it, so that eventually came out. I was kind of done with them. Now you can see here where I've expanded my herbaceous border. The other tree that was located there, the ash tree, died because of the emerald ash borer. So that came down and I fenced the whole area in. I also included the 12 by 12 bed and a number of other beds in the garden because I kept expanding. Then I got myself a greenhouse, and this really was awful to put up by yourself.
When they say it's a two-person job, it really is a two-person job. And can I say that the directions for it were just, they didn't make any sense, honestly. I kept asking myself, like, why didn't they do this step first? That would have made more sense. Whatever. It was $200. I got it at Harbor Freight. And once I got it up, it really did the job. Look at my beautiful sunflowers. No critters that year. Yes, so the growing trellises have been through a lot of change. You can see the one to the left was much taller. I ended up shrinking it because it was messing with my whole symmetry. And this is the other end. And you can see how the back of the garden was completely fenced in. I had a compost bin, and then I had a number of smaller beds along the back. So you can see how it's beginning to take the shape that it currently is in. But I am never satisfied. I always want to grow more crops. Here's just a shot of everything that's grown in. If you look at the garage on the right, you can see that there's no door. I covered the door up with the siding. Biggest mistake I ever did. Never mind. But things went well. Look at my glorious squash bed. Ugh, if only. Someday. So most of those smaller beds you see in front of you, I ended up turning into larger beds because I found it difficult to get soil in and maneuver with a wheelbarrow. It was just too small. And for the crops that I was growing, I was really kind of squeezing myself, and I didn't find it to be very hospitable that way. So then I decided to expand, and this is my brassica bed when it was going in, and you can see in front of that is the remainder of my compost pile. I moved the compost pile to the right, and that's where it is now. But this was going to be my biggest bed, and it was a huge undertaking, but it was really, really worth it. This was taken last year, and you can see the shed has not been done yet, but I had a really, really good crop of everything. Everything was really, really nice. You can see that lovely bunting. Yes, I think I sent these shots to Vivi, actually. Anyhow, so everything's growing on really, really well. If you see to the forefront on the right, that's where my cucumber trellising used to be before I moved it. And then this is kind of where we are now. So the bigger beds have been made. I built the obelisk. Things are planted in, so this is last year spring. This was also when I decided to get my garage kind of, back up and running with a port of entry. So I tore the siding down, which ended up happening to the whole rest of my house, and I put in a door that I had on hand, framed it out, got rid of most of the siding. I didn't get rid of all of it, but I got rid of most of it for the time being because I knew I wanted to get that door in, and I kind of maneuvered a path around it so I could get in and out. And then I hung a couple of window boxes against the back of the garage, and those were original to the house, and I just had them put aside because I knew I was going to use them again. And then I had some buck saws. People have buck saws lying around. I just thought they would look pretty on the back of the garage, so I hung them there. And so I've managed to take off the rest of the siding. You could see the heap there on the ground, and I noticed once again the original paint color of the house. And this is when I started painting it, and that's that deepest twilight blue that is trimmed all over my house, and it's the color of my shed as well. And that's what it looks like when I finally got it all painted. And I'm really glad I took all of these photos so I could show you guys exactly, the progress that was made. And now I've got my buck saws back up, hung a little wreath, little, horseshoe action over the top. Last year was also the beginning of my herb bed that I made. So you can see it's very, very young here. Lots of very small plants. And it wraps around, goes kind of towards the middle of the garden. And I used wood that I had cut up and lying around that was semi-rotted, really couldn't be burned, to create the border. And yes, things are nice and small. They are completely out of control this year, but never mind. And this is looking towards the house, so you guys can kind of see where the patio is, and you can see how small my elderberry is on either side of the trellising. Then I got myself this year that lovely, lovely polytunnel. I'm so excited about it. Once again, not a one-person job. It took eons to put up by myself. Plenty of curses and cusses flying through the air, but I did manage to get it up. And then I put the I don't know, the covering over it. Yeah, the plastic covering over it. So that was finished. It worked out really, really well. I like how it kind of created its own space, you know what I mean? So you can see the pumpkin patch was built there, okay? And then these are the photos that you guys see normally at the beginning of every video that I make. So that's this year, that's the herb bed and the herbaceous border. Here's a view from the garage. You can see the polytunnel and the sheds to the back on the left and the obelisk right in front. Here's what the garage looks like now, the back of the garage with the greenhouse and my chamomile before I cropped it down. And then finally, here's a shot of the shed, the little blue barn, my favorite area of the garden.
So, what do you guys think? Pretty crazy, right? Started off with one tiny, tiny little bed and then just expanded it over several years. And I think that's really a key to whether you're taking on a plot for the first time or you moved into a new house and you've got a new kind of backyard space that you want to start to cultivate. It really has to happen in stages. It's not something that can happen overnight. You don't want it to happen that way, actually. You don't want to put so much work in front of you that you're going to throw your hands up and just say, forget it, I'm done, I'm over it. So, you know, using the adage that my friend Sean James Cameron always says, do a little and do it often. And there's so much truth in that saying. I can't even express how true it is. So, yeah. So I went from a big, wooded, muddy lot to well, it's still a muddy lot, I'm not gonna lie, but into something that I can cultivate, something that I can grow in, something that I can enjoy and spend time in. But it did take me 10 years to get it to this point. Where it's going to evolve after this? Well, that remains to be seen. Even though, you know, I'm pretty happy where I am right now in regards to how big my garden is. Every year around springtime, I catch the bug and I really want to grow more. So maybe I'll do more fruit, perhaps. Anyhow, I hope everyone enjoyed this, something a little different. And I thought it was kind of a good stopgap in between, you know, the oppressively hot weather and me not being able to spend too much time in the garden. But I have to say my tomatoes are loving it. They are loving it right now. So anyways, I hope you're all well. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you really soon with something. I'm thinking that it's gonna be time to get back into my tunnel. Seedlings are getting bigger and things need to be planted on. So that's it for me, guys. Hope you're well. I'll see you really soon. Bye.